Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a world where a simple online post can literally become a crime scene, and a digital footprint can be the one thing that cracks a case wide open. Yep, we're talking about how social media is completely changing the game for crime investigation.
It's a wild thought, right? But for police and intelligence analysts, this isn't some what-if scenario. It's their day-to-day reality. Every status update, every photo, every check-in, it all becomes a potential lead, a piece of evidence, or maybe even a warning of a threat that's about to happen.
And we're not just talking about a few high-tech police departments in big cities. Get this, a staggering 95.9% of police forces in the United States are now using social media as part of their investigations. The digital world we all live in, it's officially their new beat. So let's talk about this new digital footprint of crime. As our social lives have moved online, it's no surprise that criminal activity has followed right along with it. This has created this massive new ocean of intelligence, but it's also thrown a whole new set of challenges at investigators. This quote just nails the problem perfectly. I mean, think about it. With billions with a B, of posts hitting the internet every single day, how on earth do investigators sift through all that noise? You've got jokes, rants, people just blowing off steam. How do you find that one genuine signal of criminal intent before it's too late? Okay, so when we say social media, what are we actually talking about here? Because in this context, it is so much more than just your Facebook or Instagram feed. For an investigator, the digital world is a much broader and way more complex place. Just look at the range here. We're talking about everything from Wikipedia to World of Warcraft. Each one of these platforms is a potential goldmine of intelligence, and they all have their own unique rules, their own culture, and their own communities that investigators have to get a handle on. And this is where it gets really fascinating, because these demographics can give investigators instant clues. Let's say a person of interest is all over LinkedIn. Okay, that might suggest a certain professional background. But if they're super active on Twitter, that could point to a younger, more urban profile. It's all about building a clearer picture of who they're looking for. So to find that needle in the digital haystack, law enforcement can't just sit there scrolling. No way. They've got some serious, high-tech tools in their toolkit specifically designed to make sense of this tidal wave of data. First up, you've got something called natural language processing, or NLP. The easiest way to think about it is like a digital canine unit that can read millions of posts in just seconds. It doesn't just look for keywords. It understands context. It can tell the difference between someone joking about bombing a test and a credible threat, flagging everything from potential violence to signs of human trafficking. And then there's this. This is social network analysis, and it takes all that data and creates a visual map of a suspect's world. You know the classic detective movies with a string board on the wall connecting photos? This is the digital version of that, on steroids. It shows who's connected to who, how strong those connections are, and the entire structure of a criminal network. All right, so that's the tech. Pretty cool stuff, but how does it all actually play out in a real-world active criminal investigation? Let's take a look. A threat like this, posted anonymously online, it's just a complete nightmare scenario, and tragically, one that's become all too common. In the past, a post like this might have just disappeared into the void. Today, it triggers an immediate, all-hands-on-deck digital investigation to stop a tragedy before it starts. So, here's how the response goes down. First, an NLP tool automatically flags that threatening language. Right away, analysts start digging into that user's online life, their digital footprint, and they cross-reference it with internal police data. Things like criminal records. This mashup of online clues and real-world intel helps them answer the single most important question. Is this threat for real? And in a crazy, high-stakes situation like a hostage crisis, social media becomes this chaotic, two-way street. On one side, you might have the hostage takers themselves online monitoring the news, maybe even Googling their captives. But at the exact same time, hostages could be secretly trying to text for help. And the public? They could be sending in useful tips or, and this is dangerous, live tweeting police movements. And listen, it's not just about lone wolf threats, not by a long shot. Investigators are using these same techniques to map out organized crime syndicates, to spot weird online patterns that could point to human trafficking, and even to manage information during big disasters like earthquakes or hurricanes. Now, this new frontier of policing, it isn't just about fancy tech and analysts in a dark room. It has fundamentally changed the role of the public. It's turned millions of us, probably you included, into potential witnesses. But here's the catch. For any of this to work, for people to be willing to report what they see online, to share information, to help with these crowdsourced investigations, it all hinges on one massive factor: trust. The public has to believe that law enforcement will use this incredible power responsibly and that our privacy will be respected.
So let's pull this all together. What does this entire intelligence gathering machine actually look like, from a single tweet all the way to a piece of actionable police intelligence?
Okay, check this out. This flowchart basically tells the whole story. It all starts over here on the left, with all this raw data pouring in from places like Twitter and Facebook. That data then gets cleaned up and organized. Then, in the middle, the real analysis begins, with those tools like NLP and social network analysis hunting for patterns. And finally, over here on the right, human experts take that refined information, assess it, and turn it into credible intelligence that can actually solve a case or stop a crime. Which brings us to the final and, let's be honest, the most critical question in all of this. The power of these tools is, well, it's undeniable. They give law enforcement an unprecedented ability to keep us safe. But as our digital lives become more and more transparent, it forces us all to ask, where do we draw the line between our security and our privacy?